The Stamcrow, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, PvP classes in the Elder Scrolls Online right now, and I'm here to tell you my take on a build. Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and today I'm going to be showing off my Stamcrow build called the Reaper. I played this a bit off meta, but making it simple, fast, hard-hitting, and insanely survivable. You'll want to pick up this build if you want maximum burst with great survivability and tailor it to your specific playstyle. Special thanks to my Patreons for sponsoring this video, and if you'd like to be featured in the end credits of future videos, link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Okay, we're going to cover gear first. I'm going to give you two loadouts that I swap in and out based on the context of what I'm playing. Beginner. So this stuff is easy to get a hold of, great survivability, a little less damage, and a little bit easier to get. The two-piece monster helm I'm going with is Bloodspawn. Very old school, obtained in Veteran Spindle Clutch 2. The one piece gives us stamina recovery, which is very useful, and the two piece gives us a chance to proc ultimate, physical, and spell resistance, and it has a cooldown of 5 seconds. What this will do essentially is make you tanky, give you ultimate so you can use it offensive or defensively. Very good two-piece monster helm, especially if you don't want to get the Mythic's Gaze of Sithis. Now there is a new two-piece monster helm that I flex in and out depending on the context of play, especially in big Zerg fights. Zol's the Ever Wakeful. This is obtained in Imperial City Elven's Gardens, and the shoulders can be obtained in Imperial City Telvar vendor for 20,000 Telvar. One piece is going to add maximum stamina, but the two piece, when you break free, it's going to release a wave causing enemies within 8 meters to become feared for 3 seconds. And you gain weapon or spell damage 34 per enemy hit up to 6. Why this is so useful is because when you're doing large keep battles and there's a lot of lag, if you get stunned and break free, it's going to release that energy and then enemy's not going to know what to do, especially in a duel. Try this in a duel or large keep fights. You'll be shocked at how effective it is. So I swap that in if I'm doing very big keep fights. The 5-piece that I'm going to keep on at all times and I'm going to run is Mark of Pariah. This is obtained in Overland Rothgar or through guild traders. Essentially what it does is the lower your health gets, the more tanky you become. It's very forgiving for new players or veterans like myself because the lower your health gets when you get to execute, you're just 1 to 2 attacks away from getting killed. You'll notice the survivability ramp up drastically when you get this, so I'd recommend getting heavy, 2 pieces on your body, reinforced chest and legs, impenetrable, well-fitted, or even reinforced. And then you're going to run 3 jewelry with that, so it's on at all times. Very good set. Now you have some options with the other 5-piece set. Shacklebreaker is a nice basic set. This is craftable 6-trait Vvardenfell Morrowind. What it's going to do is give you a large stat pool. Stat pool is very useful because it allows you some flexibility with resources staying food, and also different glyphs that you can use. Also, as a Stamcrow, you actually do use quite a bit of magic as well. So I find this a very useful and forgiving set. There's some options that you can run now with a lot of good craftable set. 1, Heartland's Conqueror, craftable 7-trait Blackwood. What this is going to do is increase your effectiveness of weapon traits by 100%. So what you're going to do if you like this setup, it's very good. You'll run Sharpen on your front bar, and on your back bar you'll run Defending or Powered, which I prefer Defending. What it's going to do is essentially amplify that Sharpen, giving you a lot. Not as much as Spriggan's, but pretty close. On the back bar, it's going to amplify that Defending, making you very tanky. So it's a good 5-piece. You don't have to have some very complex setup to be really offensive on your front and defensive on your back. Another set that I like to run on this build is Ancient Dragonguard, craftable 6-trait Southern Elsewhere. What it's going to do is kind of like Hunding's Rage of the 5-piece. It's going to give you 300 weapon damage, but also what it's going to do is it's going to turn that weapon damage off below 50% health and add more resistances. So if you pair this with Pariahs, when you get really low, you are going to be super tanky, especially if Bloodspawn procs as well. So newer players, I'd highly recommend Ancient Dragonguard if you struggle with survivability. Now the advanced gear setup and what I run for solo play, I'm going to keep 1-piece Bloodspawn on, and I'm going to go with Gaze of Sithis on the head. This is a new mythic in Blackwood, kind of a pain to get a hold of, but what it's going to do is going to give us tons of health recovery, armor, but it's going to sacrifice block mitigation. What it allows you to do is pretty much go offensive on some of the other pieces of gear, making you very survivable just with the 1 piece. So if you are able to get the mythic, I would highly recommend this as an advanced setup. And then I'm going to go Ancient Dragon Guard on my body at all times. So weapon and spell damage, and it's going to flip over the lower health we get below 50% to more resistances. You pair this with Gaze of Sithis, it's offensive when you need it, and it's defensive when you need it. You can use Pariahs if you like, however, but I like Ancient Dragon Guard with this setup. Next set, I'm going to go with the Spriggans, a very old school set obtained Overland Bank Courier bought on the Guild Traders. It's going to add physical penetration. The upside of physical penetration is people run a lot of armor. They're running Pariah specifically, so you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of damage. The downside, however, is it's not going to affect your healing. So on my front damage bar, I find it very advantageous to run Spriggans, especially for new players. This is quite easy to get a hold of. You can go farm it yourself in Overland if you like. You could flex this out for something that has a little bit more weapon damage, which would influence your healing. A lot of people are running this new Diamond's Victory set. So it's a bit complex, not going to explain it in this video, but that's an option. But I stick with Spriggans. I have gold jewelry, and if you can, go all infused on the jewelry with weapon damage and 1 stam recovery. In the back bar, we're going to go Perfected Batishram. Reason being, it's going to allow us to get stacks built up. We're going to maintain our momentum buff at all times, so it's going to give us almost 200 weapon damage just from having these stacks, plus a proc, making our heavy attacks even more lethal. Advanced setup works very well. Okay, let's talk about the skills and how I use this specific build. I go with dual wield primarily. I do not like 2H dizzying swing gameplay. Not fun. It is very effective, and meta is to play with the 2H, so just feel free to know that. So the skills that I run, Blighted Blastbones. This is our bursting tool and our main damage ability. 2.5 cast, and it's going to go chase them kind of like a heat-seeking missile. You're going to do this along with a heavy attack with your 5 stacks proc of the Vatishram weapon and absolutely just demolish someone. Add in a Dawnbreaker or a Whirling Blades, and it's pretty much adios. So you're not doing some complex offensive rotation. You're really just doing Blastbones, heavy attack, Whirling Blades, or throw an ultimate in. Next ability up is Quick Cloak. This is going to give us major expedition and major evasion and a little bit of damage. So it's going to make you faster, more tanky, give you a little more damage. Try to maintain this at all times if you can. That extra major evasion will make a remarkable difference in your survivability. Mortal Coil is next. This is our resource sustaining tool that uses corpses, and it's a must-have, especially in no CP. Next ability is Agony Totem. This is a game changer for me. What have made a huge difference in Battlegrounds and Cyrodiil. What this is going to do is you place it on your feet. It's going to provide a synergy to other folks, but what it's also going to do is fear enemies every 2 seconds. So the Necro base does not have a really reliable good stun. This thing is great. So what you're going to do, big keep fight, Zerg fights, put it down. 1v1, put it down. 1vx, put it down. It's going to fear people. They're not going to know how to handle it. They've never seen the stun before, and you'll absolutely nuke them. So how I combine this is I cast Blasted Blightbones, Quick Cloak, I run right up on top to a target because I don't have a gap closer, put my Agony Totem down. Guess what? 2 seconds later, it procs, fear, drops their block, Blastbones hit, later, they're dead. However, consider this your flex spot. So if you're playing in Imperial City, I put Radiant Mage Light on here, so that way I can attack gankers and bombers. If you're playing in large-scale groups and people are providing stuns, like you're playing with a Sork that does Streak, I would go with Avid Boneyard. This is going to have massive AoE synergy that you can activate too. Last active ability, Whirling Blades. It's an AoE damage ability, execute, and we use this as our spammable. So it hits really hard, below 50%, but even at 100%, it's a little bit of something if your Blastbones is currently waiting to launch and hit the target. Last ability up, Dawnbreaker Smiting. You know what it is. AoE coronal damage, it's a stun, paired with Blastbones and a heavy attack. It absolutely devastates everybody. I have a separate video on this on Ultimate, but don't be afraid to use this defensively, to peel for a healer, to get a stun, to move, line of sight. It's very good offensive and defensive. Back bars are two-handed. This is used primarily for heals, buffs, and mobility. So the first ability up is Summoning Armor. Armor buff that reduces cost of specific abilities. I went with the other morph previously, which pulls people in that are attacking you, and that can be useful, but also cannot be. Sometimes you don't want people pulled in, and that's going to give them, when they break free, it's going to give them CC immunity. So I didn't find that as useful. Plus the cost reduction and no CP or Battlegrounds, fantastic. Now momentum, you have one of two morphs that you can take. 4 momentum is going to give you more mobility. However, it's not going to have the heal. So I'd highly recommend newer players that need help with mobility to take this. Experienced players could take Rally and you can have a lot more healing. However, you have to be very, very good at mobility, cleansing off negative effects, and so on. So you have some flexible options there. Expunge and Modify. This is our cleanse. It's going to remove a couple negative effects and restore resources at the expense of health. So you're not going to use this when you're below 20% health, but you're going to use this while you're line of sighting and off healing to get some resources back and get those nasty effects off. Spirit Guardian. This is up next. It's just insane. It's a damage reduction ability. It provides a corpse, which is always needed. This thing is your survivability tool. I cannot say enough. You pair this with Quick Cloak, you are so survivable. It's insane. Last ability, active ability, Resolving Vigor. This is just a burst heal over time. It's going to pair very well if you're using the Rally morph and make you very survivable, have some good healing. Now you have 2 ultimate choices. Ravenous Goliath, defensive ultimate that you're going to use without pocket healers. If you have pocket healers and you're playing a group, go with Pestilence Colossus, one of the best bursting AoEs in the game, if not the best. Hands down, incredible. If you're going to start this all over, what I would recommend for racial choices is number 1, an Orc. This is balance, max stats, weapon damage, and speed. All-time favorite PvP. If you want some flexibility, I go with Dunmer. This is all around great and allows you to switch between magic and stamina, but though it does lack sustain. My character specifically is Dark Elf, since I plan to play this on a Magcrow and a Stamcrow. Lastly, Imperial. Don't forget Imperial. Max stats and insane resource sustain with the reduction in costs. Very good racial choice. Consumables I go with the Artanium's Takeaway Broth. I carry tripods and immovability with health, stamina restore, and I can't get CC'd for about 10 seconds. I do not use poisons. Sometimes I do with Escapist. Otherwise, I use weapon enchants. It's just up to you. Mundus Stone. I think the Warrior is the best all around for PvP because it increases your weapon damage, which is going to affect your healing and damage done. Attributes. You're going to want to get at least 29,000 health inside the PvP context that you're doing. So if that's no CP Cyrodiil, or that's Battlegrounds, or that's CP, at least 29k health. And I write right around 12 to 13k magic is a good sweet spot. Then the rest into max stamina. Champion points is next. And so you have some flexibility. In the fitness tree, Bound Vitality, Rejuvenation. Those are the 2 no-brainers. The next 2 are Slippery. When you're going to be disabled, you're going to automatically break free at no cost. This is going to save you a lot of stamina, especially if you're playing solo or outnumbered. People are going to CC you all the time. So it's a great resource tool, and it helps you not get ganked, especially if you have Radiant Mage Light on and you're using souls. The other one is Expert Evasion. Next dodge roll is free. Again, this is going to save you tons of stamina. I can't tell you how many dodge rolls I'm going to be roly-poly with this. Great survivability tool. Warfare. So I go with a little bit different CP setup. Endless Endurance, which is going to increase your max stamina. Untamed Aggression, which is going to increase your weapon damage. Reason being, those both 2 affect offensive and defensive. So they're going to make you hit harder, and they're going to make you heal better. The other different ones like Masters at Arms or Deadly Aims, those will make you hit harder 10% on very specific things. However, they're not going to affect healing the same. So keep that in mind. That's why I go with this. Very, very good for both. And then I go with 2 damage reduction ones. Duelist Rebuff, which is going to reduce single target, and Unassailable will reduce AoE damage. I always err on the side of being tankier than not, and so this helps me. But if you want more damage, take those off, go Masters at Arms, Deadly Aim, it will do a lot. Green Tree doesn't really affect performance that much. Treasure Hunter, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Steed's Blessing. So this is the build. Stamina Necro took me a very long time to kind of find a Deltia version that I liked. I went with what everyone else was doing with the 2-hander. Not that that's bad. Those are very good builds, but I just couldn't find my sweet spot until a friend of the channel, Suri, mentioned, hey, you might want to try Agony Totem. I put that puppy down, changed the entire playstyle, went to 2H with Whirling Blades and Blastbones focused. Works very good for me. So pick it up, modify it to what you like, but this does work very well, and I appreciate you watching.